The gymnasium doors parted like a curtain on a stage, revealing a girl in a shimmering blue dress, her silhouette framed by the soft glow of fairy lights. Her steps were cautious, her eyes wide with a mix of hope and fear. The room buzzed with chatter, but as she entered, a hush rippled through the crowd, followed by whispers sharp enough to cut. Who's she? Doesn't belong here. In that moment, under the weight of 100 judgmental stares, the air crackled with tension. This is the story of a girl who walked into a storm of cruelty and turned it into her triumph. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because you're about to witness a prom night that no one will ever forget. Her name was Ellie Harper, the new girl at Crestwood High, a small-town school in Ohio where everyone knew everyone's secrets, except hers. 3 months ago, she'd arrived in Crestwood with her dad, a factory worker chasing a fresh start after years of struggle. Ellie was 17, quiet, with auburn hair that caught the light and green eyes that seemed to hide a story no one bothered to ask about. She was always tucked away in a corner with a book or lost in her earbuds, blending into the background. But tonight, at prom, she wanted to be seen. She'd saved every penny from her part-time job at the diner to buy that dress. A sapphire gown that flowed like liquid starlight, hugging her frame and flaring at the hem. She'd spent hours curling her hair, painting her nails, practicing her smile in the mirror, whispering to herself, "You've got this." Prom was supposed to be magical, a night to shed her shyness and feel like she belonged. As she stepped into the gym, decked out in silver streamers and pulsing with pop music, her heart thrummed with fragile hope. But Crestwood High wasn't kind to outsiders. At the center of the gym, beneath a spinning disco ball that fractured light across the dance floor, stood Madison Pierce and her clique. Madison was the queen of Crestwood, blonde, confident, and vicious. Her father owned half the town, and she wore her privilege like armor, her pink dress glittering with sequins that screamed money. Her friends, a pack of perfectly manicured girls in coordinated outfits, orbited her like planets around a sun. They spotted Ellie the moment she walked in, their eyes narrowing, their smiles turning predatory. Madison tilted her head, whispering loud enough for nearby tables to hear, "Look at her. Thinks she's Cinderella or something." Her friends snickered, their laughter a spark that ignited the crowd's attention. Ellie felt the weight of their stares but kept moving, her heels clicking softly as she made her way to the refreshment table. Her hands trembled as she poured a cup of punch, the red liquid sloshing against the plastic. The giggles spread, a ripple of malice weaving through the gym. The music pulsed, a slow beat vibrating through the air. Couples swayed on the dance floor, their laughter and chatter filling the space, but Ellie stood alone, clutching her cup, trying to shrink into the shadows. She didn't see Madison and her crew weaving through the crowd, closing in like wolves. "Hey, new girl," Madison's voice sliced through the music, sharp and cold. Ellie froze, her cup halfway to her lips, her heart lurching. The gym seemed to tilt, every face turning toward her. Madison sauntered over, her heels clicking with purpose, her pink dress catching the light like a warning flare. "Nice dress," she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "Did you borrow it from your mom's closet? Or was it a thrift store special?" The crowd erupted in laughter, the sound crashing over Ellie like a tidal wave. Her cheeks burned, her pulse hammering in her ears, but she didn't respond. She just stood there, her green eyes fixed on the floor, her fingers tightening around the cup until her knuckles whitened. Madison stepped closer, her perfume sharp and overwhelming, her presence suffocating. "What's wrong, Ellie? Too shy to talk? Or do you just know you don't belong here?" Her friends flanked her, their laughter a chorus of cruelty, each giggle a needle in Ellie's skin. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Go back to wherever you came from," and the laughter swelled, a wave of scorn that threatened to drown her. Phones were out now, recording every second of her humiliation, their screens glowing like fireflies in the dim light. Ellie's vision blurred with tears, but she blinked them back, her jaw clenching. She wanted to run, to disappear through those gymnasium doors, and never look back. But something held her there, maybe pride, maybe defiance, or maybe a spark of something deeper, something she'd kept buried since she arrived in Crestwood. "I'm just here to have a good time," Ellie said softly, her voice barely audible over the music. Madison's eyes gleamed with delight, sensing weakness. "Oh, sweetie," She purred, stepping so close Ellie could feel her breath. "You're not having a good time. You're a joke." The crowd leaned in, feeding off the drama, their laughter a living thing that coiled around Ellie's heart. Madison reached out, grabbed the hem of Ellie's dress, and tugged hard. The fabric didn't tear, but the gesture was a violation of public claim of power. The crowd gasped, then roared with laughter. "Oops," Madison said, her smile venomous. "Geese, you should have worn something less pathetic." That was the moment something snapped inside Ellie. Her tears stopped. Her trembling hands stilled, and when she looked up, her green eyes weren't soft anymore. They were fire. "You shouldn't have done that," Ellie said, her voice low, almost a growl. Madison laughed, tossing her blonde hair. "What are you going to do about it, new girl? Cry?" The crowd leaned in, sensing a spectacle, their phones still rolling. Ellie took a step forward, her heels clicking softly, her posture shifting in a way that was subtle but unmistakable. The gym seemed to hold its breath. "I'm not crying," she said, and for the first time, her voice carried a strength that made Madison's smile falter. Just for a moment. What no one in that room knew, what Ellie had kept hidden since she arrived in Crestwood, was her secret. Back in her old town, in a rundown gym with creaky floors, flickering lights, and punching bags patched with duct tape, Ellie had trained for years. Her dad, a former amateur boxer who'd fought his way through a tough youth, had taught her everything he knew. She'd sparred with boys twice her size, learned to weave through punches, to strike with precision, to channel fear into power. Boxing wasn't just a hobby for Ellie. It was her sanctuary, her armor, the place where she transformed pain into strength. She'd never told anyone in Crestwood, not wanting to stand out more than she already did. But tonight, Madison had just stepped into her ring. Ellie's stance shifted, her shoulders squaring, her feet planting like she was ready to move. Madison didn't notice, but Tyler, her boyfriend, did. He stepped forward, his tuxedo crisp, his smirk oozing confidence. "Back off, weirdo," he said, shoving Ellie's shoulder lightly, thinking he'd intimidate her. It was a mistake. Ellie's reflexes kicked in, her body moving faster than anyone expected. She sidestepped his shove, her blue dress swirling like a cape, and in one fluid motion, she grabbed his wrist, twisted it just enough to make him wince, and pushed him back. Tyler stumbled, his face a mix of shock and embarrassment, his polished shoes scuffing the floor. The crowd gasped, the laughter dying instantly, replaced by murmurs of disbelief. Madison's eyes widened, but she recovered quickly, stepping forward with a snarl. "You think you can touch my boyfriend?" she hissed, raising her hand as if to slap Ellie. But Ellie was ready. She caught Madison's wrist mid-air, her grip like iron, her eyes locked on Madison's. The gym went silent, the music fading into the background, every eye fixed on the two girls. Ellie leaned in close, her voice steady but lethal. "Touch me." The words hung in the air, heavy with warning. Madison yanked her hand free, her face red with fury, her perfect composure cracking. "You're done," she spat, and lunged, her manicured nails aiming for Ellie's face. What happened next was a blur. A beautiful, devastating blur. Ellie ducked under Madison's arm, her body moving with the grace of a seasoned fighter, her dress flowing like water. She didn't throw a punch, not yet. Instead, she weaved, her movements precise, controlled, her heels clicking rhythmically on the polished floor. Madison swung again, wild and sloppy, her anger making her reckless. Ellie sidestepped, letting Madison stumble forward into the refreshment table. Punch cups toppled, splashing red liquid across Madison's pink dress, the sequins now glistening with sticky juice. Madison shrieked, her voice piercing the silence, her hands clutching at her ruined dress. The crowd was stunned, murmurs rippling through the room like a shockwave. Madison scrambled to her feet, her face a mask of rage and humiliation, her blonde hair plastered to her cheek with punch. "You're dead!" she screamed, charging at Ellie again, her heels slipping on the wet floor. This time, Ellie didn't hold back. She planted her feet, her right hand curling into a fist, her body coiled like a spring. As Madison swung, Ellie countered with a sharp jab to her shoulder. Not hard enough to hurt, but enough to send Madison spinning backward, her heels giving out. She crashed into a chair, her dress now soaked, her hair a tangled mess, her crown of confidence shattered. The gym exploded, not with laughter, but with gasps, cheers, and shouts of disbelief. Phones were still recording, but now they were capturing something entirely different. Ellie, the shy new girl, standing tall in her blue dress, her fists raised, her eyes blazing with a fire that no one had seen coming. Tyler tried to step in again, puffing out his chest, but Ellie's glare stopped him cold. "Don't," she said, her voice calm but unyielding. He froze, his bravado crumbling, his hands dropping to his sides. Madison's friends rushed to her, their faces pale, their confidence shaken. They helped her up, her sobs echoing as they pulled her away from the scene. The crowd parted for them, but the energy had shifted. Someone started clapping, slowly at first, then faster. Another joined in, then another. Soon, the gym was filled with applause, cheers, and whistles, not for Madison but for Ellie. The same people who'd laughed at her were now chanting her name. "Ellie! Ellie!" The sound washed over her, a tide of validation she hadn't expected. Ellie didn't smile, she didn't bask in it. Instead, she lowered her fists, her chest heaving, her auburn hair slightly mussed but her posture unbroken. She looked out at the crowd, her green eyes scanning the faces, some shocked, some guilty, some awestruck. For the first time that night, she didn't feel like an outsider. She felt seen, not as the new girl, not as a target, but as someone unbreakable. But the story doesn't end there. As the cheers faded, Ellie's gaze drifted to the gymnasium doors, where a figure stood watching her dad, who'd been chaperoning the event. His eyes were wet with pride, but also with something heavier. Memories of the nights he'd trained her, not just to fight, but to survive. In that moment, a flashback hit Ellie hard, pulling her back to the old gym in her hometown, the smell of sweat and leather, the sound of her dad's voice barking, "Keep your guard up, Ellie! You're stronger than you know." Those nights had been her refuge after her mom left, after the world felt like it was crumbling. She'd poured her pain into every punch, every dodge, building a strength that no one in Crestwood could have guessed. Now, standing in the gym, with the crowd's cheers echoing, she realized why she'd fought. Not just to stop Madison, but to prove to herself that she could rise above the pain, the loneliness, the labels. She locked eyes with her dad, and a silent understanding passed between them. This was her moment, her victory. Not just over Bullies, but over every doubt that had ever held her back. She nodded slightly, and he smiled, a rare softness in his weathered face, as if to say, "You did it, kid." The music started up again, a new song filling the gym, but the mood had shifted irreversibly. People approached Ellie cautiously, some offering apologies, others asking questions in hushed, reverent tones. "Where did you learn to do that?" A girl from her math class asked, her eyes wide. "Are you, like, a professional fighter?" A boy added, his phone still in hand. Ellie just shook her head, her expression softening but still guarded. "I just wanted to have a good time," she said, echoing her earlier words. But this time, they carried weight. A declaration of her right to exist, to take up space, to be more than their assumptions. As the night went on, Ellie didn't dance. She didn't need to. She stood by the edge of the dance floor, watching as the crowd moved around her, some stealing glances, others whispering in awe. A few girls from her English class approached, their smiles shy but genuine. "You were amazing," one said, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry I didn't say anything earlier." Ellie nodded, her heart still racing, but something inside her felt lighter. She'd walked into prom hoping to belong. She was leaving knowing she didn't need their approval. She'd claimed her place. The video of that night spread like wildfire. By Monday, it was all over social media, the hashtag #VaporBoxer trending across Crestwood and beyond. People shared clips of Ellie's moves, her calm defiance, the way she turned humiliation into triumph. Some called her a hero, others said she'd gone too far. But Ellie didn't care about the noise. She'd fought her battle, and she'd won. In the weeks that followed, Madison's reign at Crestwood High faltered. She wasn't the untouchable queen anymore. She was just a girl who'd picked the wrong fight. Ellie, meanwhile, started opening up. She joined the track team, her speed and discipline turning heads. She spoke more in class, her voice steady, her answers sharp. She even laughed with a few classmates who'd once ignored her, their respect hard, earned but freely given. But the real change was quieter, deeper. Ellie carried herself differently now, her shoulders back, her eyes steady, her steps sure. She'd always known she was a fighter, but that night at prom she showed the world. And the world, or at least Crestwood High, would never forget it. As the screen fades to black, Let me ask you something to keep this story alive in the comments. From which part of the country are you watching this video? Drop it below, and let's see how far Ellie's story has traveled. If you love this tale of revenge and empowerment, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button for more stories that'll keep you glued to your screen. Until next time, stay strong, and never underestimate the quiet ones.